good evening, and welcome. And I'd like to introduce you to Jack Murphy
Jack Murphy here, and in the middle, Anthony Avillo.
from Hudson County.
Oh, yeah, two Hudson County
Pleasure,
guys.
baby.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I'd like to mention that this podcast is brought to you by Firehouse Subs, the Firefighter Foundation hot sub chain with a passion for hearty and flavorful food. And public safety, I have to add that. Ready for your next mission? Well, Firehouse Subs is offering firefighters the opportunity to continue serving after service now as restaurant owners. To learn more, there is at www.firehousesubfranchising.com. And thank you very much for that, Firehouse Subs. Well, here tonight, we'd like to talk about, well, quite a few things. We were going to talk about, let's say, the vertical challenge of tall buildings. And with that, we, the three of us, in our careers, have certainly received more than enough jokes about vertical challenges in our life. Exactly. We see eye to eye, as a matter of fact.
That's why there's a foundation in the building. We start below grade and go up.
That's right. Mike Dugan's not
Mike
allowed
Dugan's not allowed here.
But to tell you the truth, I'm honored to be sitting with these two individuals for the fact that I believe we're all of the same cloth. And there's not many people that really understand that unless you're from New York and New Jersey. It really means we have the same passions, the same spirit. We're all firefighters, and we understand what that means with respect to sacrifice and commitment. So really, it's an honor to really sit with the both of you
Same
guys.
here, Jerry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's just
Yeah,
a matter
yeah,
of
I'm
networking
floored to be
together.
here.
Years ago, meeting up with him in '94 at the first high-rise seminar in New York City, and over the years catching up with Anthony on the other side of the
absolutely.
river. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
1994 was the first one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I ran into a young man
from
in the
Bergen County.
hallway. Well, from Jersey, Quinn.
Billy
With the
Quinn.
Billy
Billy
Quinn.
Quinn.
Yeah, Billy.
Quinn.
And he won the scholarship
yeah,
to come to FDIC.
Firefighter Air Coalition
Yeah. On his-
sponsored scholarships. He's one of the winners, but he's been coming here for years.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think that's
So,
for
yeah.
next year, that scholarship.
Oh, it's next year?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he already, paid to come here and everything
Oh,
this
okay.
year.
All right.
I
Oh,
believe
good.
it's-
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
good.
ones they're giving out are for next year, I'm almost positive.
All right.
Unless
Well,
they
there's-
reimburse them.
A young man, to say a young man, was with him in the hall. We just ran into each other yesterday, and the gentleman that was with him was at the conference in 1994 at the hotel, where he said, "Oh, Chief Butler was the MC." You know, Eddie Butler from FDNY. And I says, "Was that the conference where I was ejected from the stage?" He says,
Yes.
"Absolutely."
Yes, yes.
So-
Yeah,
We
Eddie,
need to hear
Eddie
that
Butler
story.
was the Manhattan Borough Commander then?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
then
he
what
was
guys?
the
Yeah.
coordinator of the conference, and Jerry's up, lieutenant, rank?
As a matter of fact,
Lieutenant.
I was a lieutenant at the
And
time.
you have timing like this show and everything, and Ed goes 10, 5,
Oh, no, no, no. Didn't happen like that.
not fast?
No. He only came up onto, let's say, the platform where I was at the podium.
All right.
And he's standing behind me, and he said, "Jerry, time's up."
All right.
Every speaker had a 1 hour slot. And the speaker before me was Sandy Sansevero.
Okay.
And Sandy Sansevero only took 45 minutes, and I'm sitting next to Ray Downey, and Ray says, "Take your time." It only took 45 minutes. So I went up there, and I'm presenting, and Butler, he comes up, he's standing behind me. "Excuse me, Jerry, time's up." And I turned around with the microphone. "Chief, excuse me, everyone has been given a full 1 hour. I plan on taking the full hour." And I turn around, and the audience starts clapping. He leaves the stage, he goes into the back, and I won't express the words that he called me,
Yes.
but he said, "He won't leave the stage. What am I going to do?" Well, they turned the lights on. They says, "Okay, that's it." So
And you got hooked.
I did.
You got hooked.
That wasn't the first time, though. Oh, that might have been the first time,
the first time.
but it's happened since then, right?
Oh, can you imagine? When I drink coffee, you think I'm going to
Yes.
stop?
Oh,
talking?
yeah.
That's why I don't drink coffee.
And in the meantime, when we're team teaching, he comes up to me and writes me a note. "You take too long up there."
Oh, exactly.
And I'm going, "What?"
Well, he's got so many stories of his experience. You know, we like to stick to the script. The script being the program we put together.
Yeah, yeah.
But something reminds him of something, and
Yeah,
he goes off into outer space. Come, Jack, I got to bring
And
him
you're on
back.
the same ship.
Come on.
When are you guys doing your program?
We're separate this year.
Yeah.
We're doing two
separate?
different things.
Well, it's not like a divorce.
no.
It's a separation.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I was wondering why I was sitting in between you. I don't. You guys start swinging at each other. I don't know.
No.
Actually, I formed a partnership with a young man who has yet to present to the fire service. He's a retired New York City firefighter. He now works for Turner Construction and Fire Safety. And I had a program here that was accepted on construction, if you will. The title of the program is Buildings Born Sick and Dying.
Oh, okay.
So I says to this young man when I met him at the New York City Fire Safety Directors Association to find out that he works for Turner,
Yeah.
is in fire safety, and he's on the NFPA 241 committee,
Right, yeah.
which is profound.
Wow.
To say, oh, you're on that committee, because I speak about that standard quite often to the fire service, because we have to understand that it's there and how and what's written and how it's meaningful to the fire service. The reason I say that, Charlotte, North Carolina, progressive city, outstanding fire department, truly. And it's a city that's growing. It's financial, I won't say capital, but I mean, there's a lot of big banks there. But in any event, they had a building under construction fire in,
About 2 years ago.
correct. And there was 2 fatalities. And-
Firefighter fatalities?
No, civilians.
The workers.
And this was like a fifth alarm then, and it was, you know, toothpick construction. Jack speaks about it.
Okay, okay.
So the fuel package was incredible, and the fire started with a vendor parked with his truck down on the ground floor type thing. Where I'm going with this is NFPA 241 would have stipulated that you need an evacuation plan. I mean, you need all these safety factors, which did not exist. Okay, so the 2 fatalities, one of them got on his phone and he made a phone call, and this was a FaceTime phone call, and it was recorded, and here he is in the building explaining how I'm at South Park right now, and that was the South Park construction site. I'm at South Park right now, me and my man, another construction worker, a friend of his, and we have a fire. And this is live. And he wound up dying. They found their bodies hours later. What was profound is in the NFPA journal, which comes out monthly, months later, the NFPA journal said that North Carolina, didn't specify Charlotte, North Carolina is now going to adopt and recognize NFPA 241 so that the fire safety of buildings is increased. Building fire safety. And I say to myself, buildings? What about these 2 guys? The 2 the 2 civilians, the workers that were killed. Why is the building more important than them? So NFPA 241 is profound. And the very fact that this young man is on the committee,
Yeah.
I says, you know what? I'm presenting in Indianapolis. Would you join me, please?
Oh, nice.
So he's coming, and he's going to be there. And
cool.
you'll get to meet
He's
him.
got great
and hopefully the fire
experience.
service will meet him.
I met him years ago too, and right now his project is putting up the Buffalo Bills Stadium.
Stadium in Buffalo.
wow.
Buffalo, yeah.
Wow, that's
so
cool.
He's doing that. The other thing too, Jerry mentioned these lightweight 2-pit construction. I'll be talking about them on Thursday, and Jerry and I put it in the book. They're ground scrapers.
I love that term.
Some of them 500 feet.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 2 different models. One is an old factory being converted, went from factory to a residential. The one I know is 761 feet long, as an L at the bottom. Now you have to do different hose stretches. What's the distance between stairs? You open up the apartment door, the wind is 54 feet away. The depth of that. Each apartment there is equivalent to a Cape Cod house. So I have 246 Cape Cod houses inside this building. We're talking about just what Jerry said. We're talking about things that we have to do. The codes aren't doing it for us. The codes are watered down.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So what do we have to do to enhance some of these things? for the occupants in the building that it's going up and our response. So we'll be talking about that on Thursday at 10:30.
Yeah, the ground scrapers, man, they are
Yeah.
all over the place now.
Well, Anthony, if you go past us in Secaucus, next to the train station, it's scary.
Yeah,
There's like
yeah.
15 of these buildings. There's a 2,100-foot warehouse next to it with a high-rise.
Yeah, that high rise there now.
Right. Now look at the exposure to that. And
And
it's
the
off the
access.
meadowlands with wetland, with wildland fire stuff.
Yeah.
And my question to them, how's the hydrant system back there? Is
You know,
that's
I
a
was
dead
wondering,
end.
well, what about access?
Yes,
Exactly.
access.
You know, like
And-
who was thinking of that?
And you have the building, they put the garages in the middle. In the middle. There's
Oh,
4 garages, and the building wraps around the garages.
Wow.
Wow. that
Those
makes
are some
sense.
things you got to look at. And your whole idea is just making people aware of this. So how do I get to the garage fire in the building?
Yeah, I don't know.
Another
Yeah.
thing, they put courtyards up.
Right, right.
Now you have a fire in the building. People are on the balconies on the interior.
On the inside.
Correct.
Yeah,
How do you get your ground ladder back there?
yeah.
So what we put in the codes, and I hope it went through, was that you got to give us an alleyway just for us, lock the gate, and I can bring a 35-footer in or something.
Or an aerial.
Well, I don't know if you can.
You ain't getting an aerial in there,
That'd be nice.
right?
You-
Oh my
No,
God.
but those are things you look at on both sides of the equation. Response and the codes, which we're trying to get up to date more for firefighter risk reduction. So,
Well, it's like Rock Harbor is the same way.
Yeah.
Rock Harbor in North Bergen,
Yeah.
you come down and it's on the river. And I actually had 2 fires there, 2 big fires there. And it comes down and the road splits. The backs of the buildings are on the road. So there's garages. Inside is like a horseshoe. It's like a horseshoe. And in there is the access to all the apartments.
Oh,
and there's
no.
only one way to get in, which is at the head
Yeah.
of the property, So the last fire we had there, we had to run LDH in there because we couldn't get rig in there or anything. But we had to stretch lines. We had to stretch through the garages of the exposures, out the door of the building, around back into the door of the fire apartment, of the fire complex. They're like 3-story wood frame, lightweight.
Yeah.
We've had some. I had 2 major fires there, man. I've slugged it out with that building twice.
Is that an
And,
LDH supplying a manifold?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's how we work. We do a lot of manifold work by us because the streets are so
Anthony
narrow.
just had published his 4th edition to Strategy and Tactics, and it just came out now. It's available at the Fire Engineering Books and Videos. We need to ask Anthony to help us and be part of the 2nd edition for high-rise buildings understanding the vertical challenge. What Anthony brings to the table is, in Strategy and Tactics, is how a department with limited staffing
yes. Yeah.
is able to do Harlequin efforts, of big departments.
Yeah.
I mean, you do it.
Can't. It's hard. It's
Exactly.
hard. Yeah, we run 3-man companies. Now they have 4-man ladders, but the summer's coming, so you don't know. But yeah, 3-man companies, and you were talking about in the class the 100-man fire.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you put the thing up there, how many departments in New Jersey can get the 100-man
Yeah.
fire? And I think there was only 2, right? Jersey City, Newark.
Jersey and Newark.
And Newark.
Okay.
So we have 60, I think the minimum in North Hudson is 64 on the shift. But, all 64 are not showing up on the first alarm. You got like 30, which is okay. But, like as time goes on, just to get the guys there. And we've, as I'll be talking about that in the tall buildings thing on Wednesday, some of the fires that we've had, some of the problems that have occurred, but also some of the ways in which we have sort of modified our SOPs to sort of, make it work a little bit better for us, So and they just had that column again. I had it in 2002, I think, and we had 19 firefighters burned. It was wind-driven fire. The door was left open. There was a fatality actually holding the door open. And we got the wrong information about the apartment, and they really, should have did a little better size up there, but they wound up stretching short. So we had to reroute the hose lines, and eventually, it was a really interesting fire. But just the other night, they had another fire in there, but it was on the opposite side of the building, so it wasn't wind-driven. And, while some things kind of could have gone better, they had a very, very quick knockdown of that fire.
Yeah,
And
20 minutes.
And I think it was because, it wasn't wind-driven.
Wow. Let me ask you this, because you said they stretched short. How many staircases in the building? Two?
Two. Now that building, it's not center core. It's like an L. So you
Okay.
have one here and one here.
Okay.
In the center is the elevators with the magnetic
Right,
doors.
okay.
So we were told it was in 14F, and it was actually in 14J. So 14F was closer to the one stairwell.
Understood.
So they took the line out of that stairwell, and when
Understood.
they got there, there's nothing here. Now they had to go and, breach those doors, which had closed for the alarms, now contaminating that side. And they wound up stretching short.
Yeah.
I asked that for a reason, so
Yeah,
that this
yeah.
audience hears that. Because now, also, how do you add a length to get there without, shutting the standpipe, draining hose lines?
Yep.
If you can close the shutoff, nozzle shutoff, come with an increaser and add another length, now you're good to go. But you have to have another nozzle with a shutoff because
Yeah.
when you open
Yes,
this,
yes, that
Exactly.
nozzle stays.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes.
At least the shutoff stays.
We eventually, I think what was happening was, guys were saying, "Oh, you can't make that haul. Are you kidding me? I will make that haul."
Yeah,
and they're
right.
going down. You ever see the Raiders? I guess it's the Indiana Jones, where the guys' heads are getting cut off and they keep rolling
yeah,
past
down
them. That's exactly how it was. These guys were coming down, and
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. And Flood had by then gotten there, and we were like, all right, enough of this. Get the 2.5s up there, back out, close the doors. Let's go to the other stairwell. And that's when we came up and we were able to get to the apartment. But by then, I think the fire probably burned itself out a little bit.
For me,
you know?
what was frustrating with FDNY, meaning to get them to understand fire dynamics and make change because of this very reason. We were a department that, as firefighters were coming out of the hallway, burnt, the chief would turn around to another company and say, "Okay, you're up, time for a lefty." You know what I mean? And I'm being facetious. Of course I'm being facetious. But all we kept doing was
Throwing bodies.
taking firefighters, throwing bodies at a fire,
Yeah.
when we didn't have alternate strategies. And in other words, alternate means, or we didn't have curtains that we could drop from the floor above over a window that's failed already, or even smoke blockers.
Yeah.
So that we weren't providing that flow path. Or breach walls from an adjoining apartment, go out onto an outside balcony and come in with the wind at you. In other words, there are alternate strategies, but you have to think about them. And you were key with saying they didn't recognize. In other words, there is visuals that you can see from the street when a fire is wind impacted. It could be
Yes.
star-like shaped flames or puffing, because the apartment door could be open, but still the wind that's blowing in on the room that's on fire is being overpressurized to the point where it's spitting back out either smoke or flame. And that's a visual to say,
Yeah.
whoa, okay, wind's an issue.
Yeah.
Wind's
yeah.
an issue. And-
We always have wind driven.
When he was talking about the 100-man fire, and when I was the coordinator in East Bergen, Fort Lee, at the bridge, put together an automatic fourth alarm for a working fire. I had to bring 10 towns in. At the same
Yeah.
time, going to the next mutual aid group, because they're 30, 40 minutes out. So all those things should be in play for small towns. And we're trying I got a call the other day from one of the chiefs in Bergen. They took it out, the whole thing, and we're trying to get it back in. I said, you leave things, here it is, go with it. Don't take it out.
Oh my God.
So now they got to reinvent the wheel again.
Yeah. Well, there, and it's even worse there. I mean, at least we have the 65 guys, but we can get 100 if we
Yeah.
have to. We got Jersey City and Hoboken coming in, and but for you guys in Bergen
Oh,
County,
no.
you don't never know how many you get,
No,
and
no.
on that first alarm, But it's the same thing, you go down to Monmouth County, like Asbury Park, Long Branch, they have ground scrapers all over the place
yeah.
now. They got 4 guys on duty.
God.
How are you going to mount an attack? But it's crazy because when I was in Weehawken before the regional, we knew we were a one-line fire. If we don't put this thing out in the first 5 minutes, we're going to be out on the front lawn. And that's exactly how these guys are.
You think about the ground scrapes, particularly lightweight wood things. We've been telling them about these issues since '94. That 13R does not work. And I'll paraphrase Glenn Corbett. It's called roulette.
Absolutely.
So we've been telling them to put it in the voids and everything, full sprinkler system. So the Edgewater fire happens for the second time, all right? And after that, Glenn and I went down there. I just left as a coordinator, and I'm watching it at home, and I see the smoke coming out of the eaves. I said, all right, they lost it. They lost the whole building.
This is done.
That's
It's
it.
done.
Once it's
So
into the
with that,
voids.
we
it
go
burns
down
so fast, that
we're
building.
talking to the press and everything. but I called it the survivor building that survived. Mm-hmm. And the press lady says, well, we've been told that the building owner's putting sprinklers in the attic. I said, if they come out here and say they meet minimum code, they don't say what we told them, this don't work.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't.
So they had egg on their face. Now, hear me out on this one. That building went back up, full sprinklers.
There you go.
5, 6 sections. What we've been telling them, I want a foundation wall from the foundation straight to a firewall with a parapet. They're all in, all right? Now, they satisfied just that. Didn't take that running across the state or across the nation or anything. They gave them their 35-foot ladders back because in the back end, the ladder truck couldn't get there. So they had the 35-footers and get them off the third floor balconies. They gave them 2 more 35s, keep them there permanently. Now, is that a solution?
No,
At the building?
Yes.
it's a Band-Aid.
On the
Who's
outside.
going to test it?
Exactly. It's ridiculous. Thank you for a word.
Wow.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though if that fire occurred in the middle of the night in Edgewater?
It would-
They would have been hundreds of people dead.
I'm very frank with this stuff.
Yeah.
Future tombstones of America, I swear. We've been lucky. I'm tracking this across the country. 89 fires that I know since 2000. Many of them are under construction, don't get me wrong. But now I'm starting to catch occupied ones. I caught one in North Carolina at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. People on the 3rd floor can't get out. They're jumping off the balcony.
Yeah.
So now you want to look. We do this thing for a reason. You got to listen to us. You know, special interest groups are out there, but we're the ones that fight this stuff and see everything.
Yes.
So take it more, not just pacifying me. Take it more for what we're saying, that it don't work.
That new Edgewater building, are the voids sprinklered?
Yeah, I think so. I
Are
think
they?
so. I got to ask
Okay.
one of the guys down there.
Yeah,
But it's a full
yeah, I don't
13.
know.
I was told it's a full 13. But when they put the building up, you get a full 13 in the garage.
Yeah.
And for the audience,
Yeah.
for the audience, when he's referring to a full 13, he's talking about the NFPA standard 13.
Yeah.
Not like a 13R,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
That's what full
And
13
It's
means.
the entire building. We preface by that nowadays. Because there's 13D, there's 13R, so forth. It's a full, all voids, everything else is covered. So,
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if they had sprinklers on that. We don't have sprinklers in the voids of any of these
yeah.
buildings.
Now here's another one with these buildings. You ever go outside and look at the meters?
Oh,
All down on the side.
Yeah.
oh wait.
It's a tall building, guys,
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
exactly.
I see them. I
There's
see
an
them.
ex-captain outside. He's 6'5",
You know,
and he's the tall building.
years ago in a
That's
former
what-
life,
He's a
I
skyscraper.
see those faces, especially that one gentleman out there who used to be in rescue too. And I was in a 108 truck. We would leave the firehouse and run out to Broadway in Brooklyn and moon them as they were passing us going to a fire. But I won't do it now because I'm a little too old and it would be disgusting.
Yeah, I'm glad you're playing the 13R because I'm not a code guy.
Yeah.
I know it. I know what that one is.
But on
though.
your meters now, there's no code or anything says the meters have to be put in sequential order. So I dealt with a high-rise in Jersey City, 150 apartments in an E-shape area of the mechanical room, all right? E-shape. I'm looking at it, none of them, like 1102, 405, 102, 618. You got to go look for that apartment.
For 150.
Can you
Yes.
imagine?
Wow. Yeah, we got to
150.
show
And there's
you
no
guys off the-
sequence.
No.
Wow.
So now let's say you got to relight that. Say you can't. Now you shut the whole
Exactly.
building down. You got to relight it. What do you have to relight? in your
Relight the
apartment?
pilot lights.
The pilot light on the stove, the dryer, the
Exactly.
hot water heater because they're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And one other thing, I forgot one more. There's at least 4 that you have to do.
So they got to relate the whole building.
150 times
Exactly.
150 times 4
Wow.
relights.
Wow.
So
crazy.
we're trying to do something now with that. With Jerry Knapp put something on fire engineering. Go up on
an
fire
outstanding
engineering.
guy.
Look on there called
Gas
the black
emergencies.
hole gas emergencies, major gas, multiple gas meters
Jerry Knapp.
emergencies.
That's in this month?
I put up 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, it's online.
It's on, yeah.
Okay. That's why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, I think I just looked through that magazine before I got here. Actually, I read it on the plane.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was trying to
Yeah.
take a nap. I had to get up at 2 in the morning to make my flight out of New York to get here. So I was a little tired.
Yeah, I hear you.
Little.
Yeah, by the end of the week, we'll all be very tired.
I stay till Saturdays. The rest, you can't rest. So.
No, not at all.
But coming to FDIC, definitely recharges your batteries.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, recharged mine last year.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Exactly.
Right, Mark?
Yeah, at least they weren't doing CPR on you as you were leaving the building. Oh my God. Life is humbling, that's true.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit about the Tall Buildings Conference that we have here. It's basically a summit
Oh, yes.
inside that, and it's a partnership with a gentleman, Russ Timpson, out of the UK.
Yeah.
And what it is that we have like 26 speakers, a lot of them from globally, Germany, England, Canada.
It's really impressive.
Things like that. But it isn't just firefighters. It's architects, engineers, insurance people, people that deal with balanced fire protection, passive stuff. And it's a conversation. We're all talking about issues that we like to see rectified. And if you don't have these collective minds in a room, you're never going to solve anything. So the idea here is that we as firefighters tell everybody, we inherit everything. All right, the architects come in, they do their job, they go. The engineers, designer engineers do their job and go. And we have this. So we have to have more of a voice out there because we're losing everything on the fire ground. And that's my new approach is firefighter risk reduction. And how do I get you and on the line more involved in this stuff? Because we're not winning.
No,
We're not.
Definitely not. And the buildings are getting more and more complex.
Yes.
While some of the systems are designed to like help us out, they're also really difficult to operate or figure out how to operate them. Now, I know in the city and in Jersey City, you got fire safety directors who, are usually worth their salt. We don't have any of that in
I know.
Jersey.
Yeah.
We have nothing. In fact, the Cullum Towers fire the other day, they opened a key box, nothing in there.
No kidding.
No keys, no elevated keys, no door keys. Luckily, a couple of guys had elevated keys, but just not in there. Fire safety education. That I think is extremely important because we've had. It's interesting. North Bergen has probably had 4 or 5 fatal high-rise fires in the last 25 years, since like 1998 when they had the Westview Towers,
Okay.
and almost every one of them where people were killed. It had to do with the lack of fire safety education. Every single one of them. And not only that, like just the other day, Cullum Towers, the guy who was the ABC, and the deputy told me there were 300 or 400 people. It's all seniors in there.
Yeah.
300 or 400 people in the lobbies coming down the stairs. Know why?
Well, think
Police
about
evacuated them.
think about this, and this is a building with seniors.
Yeah.
What's the turnover rate?
Yes.
People don't think about that. I mean, they're seniors, they're sick. Maybe they lived there 4 or 5 years and they pass, and now somebody else is coming in. So I mean, the turnover rate
constant. Yeah.
is heavy.
Yeah.
And then public housing, migrants. Okay, the turnover rate there is, and some of them don't speak English. So I mean,
And their extended families are living with them too.
exactly.
So those are things you look at. This building that you had the fire didn't have a one-way voice system.
It didn't in 2002. I don't think it has one now.
That's another issue.
It did have cameras though.
Yeah, okay.
Because they did see
Yeah.
smoke on the 10th
Fine.
floor.
Oh, wow.
So
Well, that's-
they did have cameras, which they didn't have back in the fire that I was at.
Okay.
But they did not have monitored smoke alarms in the apartments, only in the hallways.
Well, it must have battery operated in the apartment.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
single
when
station.
so when the alarm, when it came in, the door was still closed, so no alarm was going off.
Right.
When the acting battalion got there, he walks into the building and there's people just sitting there like nothing's going on, and he's like, "Is there a fire here?" And they're like, "Oh, we don't know." And he walked out the back, and when he walked out the back, he looked up and he said, "Oh man," because it was misty out. That looks like smoke, and boom, the windows blew out. The pictures I just showed you, the windows blew out.
Wow.
But they found that then they have video of the woman. She was 77, her husband's 88. She's going back and forth the hallway, banging at doors, and the hallway starts to get filled with smoke. Then alarms go off. But she went back in the apartment to grab her husband, and they found the both of them in the foyer between the bedroom and the kitchen door.
Well, he needed assistance, right? And she was
Yes,
going to
yeah,
give him assistance.
yeah, he needed assistance. So, they never got out,
Right.
But I believe there was obviously a delayed alarm as well.
We talk about a lot of these old existing buildings, no sprinklers. A lot of them don't have alarms either in the way of a voice system. And if you try to take control of shelter in place or in building relocation, you have to communicate to them.
Most of
So-
ours don't have that.
Yeah, I know, and that's issues we have to address. That's why I keep talking about building intelligence. How are your
Yes.
tactics going to change if you don't have all these things in place?
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
it's going to help you.
I'm
you know?
not sure that NFPA could provide the fire service statistics on how many people are, not all of them have to be disabled.
Yeah, no, yeah.
That need assistance, let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah.
I mean, in New York City, we have Roosevelt Island.
Yes.
And there's no fire company out on Roosevelt Island, really, that would respond. As a matter of fact, the closest engine company was disbanded, if you will. But at the time that company was disbanded, let's say the population out on Roosevelt Island might have been 10,000 people of the high rise. Now there's more, by the way. But 25% was
Yeah.
told, or we were to be informed, that they were disabled or they had some sort of an issue. Can you imagine? So in high rise of all types, wide rise, low rise, do we know how many people are disabled? Are they part of the evacuation plan? Are there areas of refuge for them? If you have limited staffing, because okay, we have to deal with the fire, and we have to deal with life safety and the people. Do we have the resources to do both? Maybe not.
The access bridge, is that a permanent bridge or is it a
It goes
road
up.
bridge? It goes up?
Oh yeah, it's a.
Now, what if it's in a locked position, up?
Well, when we
For
know,
response.
Yeah.
when the department is notified
Yeah.
that, let's say a large craft is coming down the
All right.
river, the East River, they'll put companies out there
Okay.
Smart.
for the duration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yet, they're limited with whatever you put out there
Yeah.
in that time that the bridge is up.
And there's water. There's enough water out there, right? They got hydrants and all that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know.
You
I
can
figured
draft,
they
but
did.
yeah, it's
yeah,
the
you
city
can
system,
draft.
God bless. But now, they've built many more and there's a hospital out there too.
Didn't
Wow.
one of the universities take over the southern end?
Yes,
At Cornell or something?
Yes.
A
and that used to be a
technologies-
hospital.
Yes. And know what that hospital was in? The remnants of the hospital? What show was that in?
Oh, I
They
have no
filmed a
idea.
lot of things. Combat. They
Really?
filmed a lot of the things down there of
Really?
the old standing buildings and everything else. Combat.
How interesting is
Yeah, I
that?
thought that was
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, that is interesting.
Wow.
That is interesting. That's another thing too. You talk about schools, the ground scrapers that they use as dorms now.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like I was down in Rowan in New Jersey, and they got this building. It's got to be like 2-3 blocks long, and it's 5 stories. Stores on the bottom and toothpick above. And these are the dorms. And are they sprinkled in the voids? I don't know.
I don't
I know they're certainly sprinklered, after the Seton Hall fire, but I don't know if they're sprinkled in the voids. But the problem you run into there is the alarms go off in the middle of the night. What do the kids do? What do the students do? And they don't come out of their apartments.
Exactly.
There are places like my daughter lived at Penn State. If you didn't come out, they checked out. You didn't come out, they suspended you from school.
Yeah.
They were that. they
I
were
am
that-
so glad that.
Yeah.
Gotta get their
that adamant
attention.
about- But you know what's kind of crazy? Penn State, Happy Valley, volunteer fire department. You think about all the people they have in
Yeah.
that
Oh,
on a college football day,
Yeah.
and
Right.
they run a volunteer fire department. I was stunned.
College Park, Maryland. That department
Yeah.
responds to the college.
The college,
Yeah, yeah,
That
I would-
Notre
I would-
Dame has an on-site campus fire department. Some University of Rhode Island has a fire department.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, a kid graduated there, it was a volley, worked there, got a job, a career job in Newport, stayed there about 3 weeks. Providence.
There you go. Yeah.
But there are solutions out there. People just don't want to listen.
Yeah,
After the Seton Hall fire, I teamed up with Rutgers, went around to all the places, and said, "What are you giving back to the community?" My cousin was the guy he was the lieutenant on the hallway going down. He had to leave the nozzle man there because he had a victim in the hallway. Tony DeStache.
Yeah,
Beckett.
yeah, yep.
Had to leave the kid. The kids are taking ground ladders, throwing them up against the building. When you respond with 7, your town, there's less people in the town. You have more people at the college.
Yeah.
They have to take ownership. They really do.
Yeah,
You know,
it's crazy.
They put a lot of burden on us.
There is no on-campus fire department
No,
there.
no.
When my daughter was going to school there, and they had like a parent thing, and my daughter's sitting next to us, and so I raised my hand, and she's like, "Come on, we can't that. And I'm like, well, what kind of fire protection do you have here? Is there an on-campus department? He goes, well, we're protected by a volunteer department. And there's nothing against the volunteers, but you're talking
Yeah, yeah.
about, you know, God, would they have 50,000 students there?
Yeah.
And on game day, it is probably another 100,000. And like, I was like, really? Are you kidding me? You know, my daughter's like, she's like,
Yeah,
sitting
no,
under the
they didn't
seat,
want,
you know?
none of the colleges wanted to see me.
No, but
When
you
I
know,
took
and
my
that-
kids there. it's
and
like
and
that.
you know, I was stunned by it. You know, and some of the parents were like, oh, ooh,
My,
really?
my sophomore year, my daughter, they were putting her in the basement with the windows about 8 feet up. That's
No.
number one. So out, you're out. In the freshman year, third floor, they brought everything up. And now I'm giving them, her and a new roommate, things about the alarms going off. It's not wired. They had no smoke detector back then. So I went out, got duct tape, put it on the ceiling. I'm giving instructions what to do, how to feel the door, look under the door, never go outside. True story.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
At 4 in the morning, you hear bam, bam, bam. Get up, the girl that I taught opens the door, looks up. They go out in the hall, nobody's there. It's the damn alarm clock. And I said to my daughter, you figure out the difference between an alarm clock and a fire alarm.
Oh my
But
God.
look what happened.
Yeah.
Little education, that girl beat my daughter.
Yeah, yeah. No,
The greatest potential for catastrophe is when school starts
Yeah.
and the students are moving in. Because now they're unpacking everything that they just brought to their room.
Yeah.
So either in the hallway, or if they're diligent enough, if there's a dumpster close to the building, if they didn't bring it to the dumpster, it's in the hallway. So this is a means of egress, okay? Because Seton Fire, they had furniture in basically the public hallway, and it shouldn't have been there. It was combustible. So then also these students, they'll take, let's say, cement blocks, and they'll raise their bunks so they can hang out underneath, blah, blah, or put their stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. Are they allowed to have, let's say, utensils or appliances for cooking? Are they allowed? You know that they
Yeah.
have.
Minimum. but-
hot
yeah,
plates, all that
Oh,
stuff.
that's the point. Hot plates. It could be a toaster oven and things. All kinds of stuff. It's there.
And
you know?
another overlook, there's never enough outlets in the room
Exactly.
because they're doing the piggyback.
So they overload the
Exactly.
hours, yeah. They had a fire in my daughter's. She lived in a high-rise her senior year and her junior year, and they did have a fire in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, right.
One of the days, and you know there was no fire safety education. There were no fire wardens.
Yeah,
You know.
But
The fire in Providence, that it was the same chancellor at
Yeah.
Seton Hall, but the fire in Providence, a young girl, her jacket had gotten wet from being out in the snow, blah, blah, blah. She hangs it up in the closet of the room, and she turns on a hairdryer and hangs it there to try and dry this coat, and that was the origin of the fire. But yet in the hallway, they had all of these paper mache nativity sets. And that added to the fuel in the public hall,
Yeah.
why other kids couldn't escape their rooms, and girls jumped out the window. And was it 7 girls?
I don't remember the
was
amount.
this?
In
There's
Providence,
fires in the 70s,
Yeah.
mid 70s
I
or
never
something.
heard of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Really? Oh my God.
tragic. And the chancellor
It was the same person.
was the
at
same
Seton.
person at Seton Hall.
Really?
Yeah.
Same.
Wow. What are the odds?
Exactly.
I don't know about that one.
Right?
That
What
was
are the odds
like,
of that?
wow, it's right.
That's crazy.
I agree.
Oh my goodness.
Jerry gave a good talk today. Again, his forte, smoke management and everything, smoke movement, things like that. So he opened up quite a few eyes, even to the architects and people in there, just saying these are the things we're against. One of the things they bring up too is I call it, Glenn calls it, I always pick on Glenn, Star Wars. The Magical Mystery Tour, the firefighter smoke control system. No one knows how to use it. Nobody. And we put the system. They put the system in. Before I left the hospital, I went to the manufacturer that when I put the new building over the highway, give me the directions. Leave it here for the guys. So anyone who has this out there, if you have a smoke management fire control panel at the command center or next to the regular fire alarm panel, reach out to the property management people and get instructions how to use that. They're all different models and everything.
Yeah, they're extremely complicated.
Yes, they are.
You know, and then you have the other things, the chillers on the roof. The guy from FDNY
Yeah,
did that
Perot,
presentation.
Lieutenant Perot.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
chillers on the roof and all that stuff. And you're like, you know, with all the chemicals and things inside
Exactly.
there. Like, oh,
A2, A3, highly flammable.
Yeah.
So my thing when I me and Jim Tidwell out of Texas, we wrote a book on green buildings and everything else. We got a grant from the state, National Fire Marshals and everything. And my attitude was, green, I see red.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
Look at
it's
that.
like,
Of course.
because we all take it apart. We all see
Yeah.
our problems with these buildings and everything. You know, you want green roofs and everything. Well, what's the drainage when it blocks up?
Yeah.
How many layers are there now? Then they want to put gray water tanks under the greenery. So they have that. Now you have another fire load up there too, heavy dead load. So all these things they put out there, best systems coming into buildings, these high energy systems. We know we have a hard time putting out cars or bikes and everything else.
Yeah.
Now you're asking me to put these in the building. There are controlling points for it, but the thing is that with a lot of things out there, they keep throwing it at us, but they don't give us a solution.
No solutions. No
Meet
lithium-ion
us,
cars in the garage.
meet us halfway. We're telling you we have an issue here. Try to solve it before we get it.
Yeah.
And what Jack is referring to, BESS, BESS systems, are battery energy storage systems. And they are battery arrays, very similar to the battery arrays that are in electric vehicles, but they're used to store energy. These tall buildings use a tremendous amount of energy, electricity, to run their systems, their HVAC, their environmental controls, and everything else, so that during nighttime hours,
And
when
peak
you can
time.
purchase...
Peak time. Peak time, high peak time. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, stop.
Stop. In the middle of the night, when electricity is at its cheapest, they will charge these batteries so that these batteries can be used during peak time.
Peak time, thank you.
So that's really what that means.
See how we play off one another?
You
Peak
do,
time.
Absolutely.
So if they don't purchase the electricity off the grid, the utility of the neighborhood, they may be charging those batteries with either solar or wind power or some other type of source, but they have to charge their batteries when it's cheap, so that they can draw on it at peak demand, so that they don't pay large energy.
So,
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And
Peak.
that's why the districts, people in the district got to get out of these buildings.
Yeah, well, that's the
gotta,
biggest thing.
You got to get a closer look at
You
it.
can't not look at them, you know.
Because you could say the room could be sprinkler protected, well, that's one thing. And it was mentioned at the Tall Building Conference. When those batteries go into thermal runaway, they generate hydrogen gas,
Yes.
if you will, which is also flammable, and there's other toxic gases as well. But to say that, okay, if that gas is being generated in the very room where the batteries are stored, if you will, is there an exhaust system that is exclusive to that room? In other words, you wouldn't want those gases being exhausted into the HVAC system and be exhausted to the outside. No,
Yeah.
you want it to be exclusive. But another issue would be if sprinkler heads go off or firefighters come in and use hoses, if the need is there or called for, well, that water may very well be contaminated. Is it being captured, or is it going down the drain into the sewer? And would you want that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of questions.
Or
that-
down the stairwell.
Exactly.
Down the stairwell.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Jack brings up a whole host of issues that the fire service has to ask questions.
There are good guys out there, like Paul Rogers and everything, a hazmat guy. They're trying to get a hold on this. They pass things in NFPA.
Singer for bed company.
Yeah. You know, the thing too, in the
Oh, he's
I
great,
codes and
Paul
everything. What's that?
He's the singer for bed company.
Oh, no kidding. Bad company.
Paul Rogers.
Yeah.
Leave it to you, the
Oh, listen.
musical guru.
Anthony wouldn't
there's
let
either
this-
a cartoon running in my head or a cartoon.
Wow. Anthony
time.
wouldn't let this podcast go free unless he shared with you the fact that it was in 1965, I went to a Doors concert, the Doors. It was great.
Did you see the Doors too?
Jim
No, I didn't see
Morrison.
the Doors. I saw Beach Boys and quite a few other groups.
Okay, but he saw the Doors.
The Doors, yeah, the Doors. Yeah. Light My Fire.
Yes.
You like Queen a lot, right?
I like the borough of Queens, yes.
Yeah. So to get back, you talked about the green buildings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So we had a fire on a roof of a green building, and it had been on auxiliary power, and the generator had been running like all day, and the generator stack,
Right.
the exhaust was running a shaft, but it was too close to the rubber roof. So we pull on the scene at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and it looks like the whole roof is on fire. Right? We're saying, "Oh, this is
looks
through the roof.
spectacular.
How is this through the roof?" You know? And we go inside, and the people are saying, "There's smoke coming out of all the light fixtures here." Well, what happened was, and there was snow on the roof. So what happened was the thing ignited the roofing, which then ignited all the little plastic things that all the dirt was in. You know, so the concern that I was looking at was, okay, so we're going to use water and all that stuff, and I'm sure the building is it's designed to have rain
that load.
water and
Yeah,
all that,
yeah, yeah.
but
Okay.
but the roof is being supported by lightweight C-joists. Those little C-joists. So I'm thinking like, okay, and those C-joists are now holding up
Yes.
the suspended
Wet.
ceiling. So, but I'm saying, okay, so we get a fire on the top floor. Now it's destroying the integrity of the C-joists. What's the load carrying capacity when you have water? And the other end is the brush fire on the roof in the summertime.
Wow.
I'm looking at this stuff and I'm going, we got a big problem here. But it was already built, and
How tall was it, Andy?
I believe it was 4 stories.
Okay. Yeah,
Four
but still,
stories of
really,
yeah.
no, those are things.
Class 2.
Engineers need to rethink that.
I agree.
What they're
Yeah.
doing there.
Yeah.
It's got to be solid wood, got to be steel, something. You can't put that.
And
type of
C-joist,
load
it's
up
a
there.
lot less than
Oh,
1,200
yeah.
degrees for them to fail and deform.
Yeah. I had never seen C-joists before, and I'm looking at them going,
Oh, wow.
Because
yeah,
lightweight
yeah,
steel
yeah.
trusses and all that. You've seen them all the time. And I'm looking at this thing, I'm going,
Had a
what
job
is that?
in Queens, and it was commercial on the ground floor, apartments above. It had been built in the 80s. We did not have it on SIDS, Critical Information Dispatch System. The company that responded first to was Engine 324, which is a satellite. But here they're responding first to stretching a 2.5 into what was the end occupancy, which was a card store, cigarettes, newspapers, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, and let's say the store was about 40 deep, and it was going merrily on arrival. They stretched the line and knocked this fire down quickly, with the fact that it was a 2.5. We had a truck company go to the floor above, to check for extension. Gave us a negative, and that's a primary.
Right.
We wanted another truck company to give us a secondary of that same apartment above, and they told us that the floor, because they could see at the edge where the
Yeah.
floor met the wall,
Right.
dropped 4 inches.
Wow.
So now we go back in the building, and the floor joist was C-joist. So it didn't totally collapse.
Right.
Where I'm going with this, I mean, the 2.5 knocked the fire down enough to where it removed the heat from what was C-joist being deformed by the heat.
Yeah.
But before it totally collapsed,
Yeah.
and an engineer from the building department came, so I says to the engineer, at what temperature would those C-joists start to fail? Would it be 1,200 degrees? He says, no, it's probably around 800 degrees.
Wow.
And it was like, wow. And those firefighters going into that apartment above to pick up on that, oh my goodness, so 324 did an outstanding job.
Today, we talk about the 5 types, the buildings and everything. That's off the chart. They throw in. I'm in it up by me. It's
A hybrid.
1740 building, a 2-story house, private house.
Don't whisper.
With the wooden planks as this underwall and everything. You can see in
Look at this.
everything. You look in, and I see in the corner there, OS&B floor joist. What the hell's that? Propped up. I said to the guy, what's that? He goes, well, we're taking some of the floor joists out and putting it in. I said, this is an historical building, only on the outside. So,
Landmark
again,
building on
everybody
the
has
outside.
something different you got to look
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
You talk about C-joists. I had a case in Brooklyn with the Russo family. Mike Russo, fire marshal that died.
Oh.
I did a lot of things with him. So they gave me this thing. It's blowing. It's a 4-story low-rise with a bodega downstairs. It's out every window. It's under construction. Out every window. And you could see it. It started in the grocery store, worked its way out, and blew out every window real quick. When they took the building apart and threw it in the street, everything was out. All the old heavy timber, what do you call it, wood floor joists and everything, put in cold form steel. It's C-joists. I said, now, anybody ever pick that up when this thing was going up? You're dealing with an ordinary construction building. It's not.
No.
It's on the outside. It's a hybrid.
pre-fire street intelligence,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
You gotta look at
yeah.
and I tell you, anytime you got a dumpster in front of a building, a work truck in front of a building,
Yes.
oh, what are they doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What are
I'll
they
tell you
doing?
what,
Stop and
it's
get out,
amazing
huh?
you would mention that.
Yeah.
Squad 18, when we were first formed, we were responding on an EMS run. And we're going down residential street, brownstones, and there's a dumpster out in front. And I saw a wooden eye joist in the dumpster. So after we handled our response going back, we didn't go back to quarters, we went right to that house to find out that they had really created like an atrium as soon as you come in to the brownstone, opened up so that from the second floor they could overlook, but they took out all the floor joists and put in these wooden eye joists. So of course we put it in on SIDS, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You see-
One of the things I saw now in Atlantic Highlands, right where I live, they had the, sort of the ground. Well, it's not a big ground scraper, but it's got the stores on the ground floor, and it's sort of fire resistant construction,
Right.
but there's trusses there, and then the apartments up above, right? So I'm looking at this thing, and what they're doing with the stores now is they're putting the HVAC units inside the stores. Like, because normally the HVACs are on the roof.
Right,
and,
exactly.
And they cover, and they cover the whole building, right? All the common areas. So now they have the HVACs on the roof for the residential, but in each store, and I have pictures of it, each store has its own HVAC unit. And the way you look at it, there's a big soffit with a vent on it. So I have it when the building was
Right,
done,
right.
but I have it when it was being built, and the HVAC units, the guy told me they weigh about 400 pounds, and they're being held up by threaded rod.
Of course. And this is flammable refrigerant.
And they're inside the stores on the ground floor. I guess it's because,
Wow.
each store has its own
Yes, it's self-sufficient.
self-sufficient.
You pay
but,
your own utilities.
But I had never seen that
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
And I'm looking, and I throw that in my
Wow.
classes now, because I'm like, what?
I
what
want
are
to
they
clarify
doing
something,
here?
because you were talking about the fire marshal,
Yep.
and you called him Russo. Ronnie Bucca.
Ronnie, my buddy. Yeah,
Ronnie Bucca
yeah, Ronnie.
was a fire marshal with New York City FDNY. He was a firefighter in Rescue 1, but then he became a fire marshal. He was the individual that uncovered the blind shake in Brooklyn that had planned the 93 bombings
Yes.
of the World Trade Center. This was a New York City firefighter, fire marshal, who uncovered, because he was doing an investigation, an arson investigation, on that very mosque that the blind sheikh really was in charge of. So it's Ronnie Bucca.
Ronnie Bucca, and he was also
Gotta say that.
U.S. Army Reserve's intelligence officer.
He was.
So had,
Wow.
His father was Bart Mitchell, 16th Battalion chief.
Wow.
I met
Ronnie
the family.
Bucca.
I
God
still
bless you,
keep in
brother.
touch with them. And we met them at the Burn Center over the years. And what a great kid. His in-laws live up by me. So his son comes by, we go out
Up
and
in
break bread.
Providence?
Yeah.
He was meant, meaning that there was a mission for him in life.
yeah.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
say
Yeah.
he was a firefighter in Rescue 1.
Yes.
A fire uptown.
Yes.
He's on the roof. And Mayday went out from a lieutenant on the 5th floor. That lieutenant happened to be working in 35 truck that day, who was trapped. And Bucca came off, meaning he wanted to leave the roof and come down the fire escape. So it's a gooseneck ladder that takes you off the roof
Right.
onto the top floor landing okay. He slipped and fell from the gooseneck of the 5th floor. And on the way down, he landed, meaning first landed on the telephone wires that was strung up
Yeah.
between poles in the backyard, bounced and landed on all fours on the cement below. The telephone wires saved his life.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Wow.
So does that mean that a higher power
I
had,
know.
Oh God, yeah, for sure.
Hey, what was his nickname for that?
you tell me?
Was it Flying Fireman or Flying Squirrel or something?
Oh,
They
no,
nicknamed him?
Rocky.
I don't know. 108. But Ronnie Bucca, God bless.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
what a pleasure, and thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining
Well,
us.
listen, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This was,
Yeah.
I'm in awe of you guys. You guys have been around longer than I have, and the information you guys have just boggles my head. Like, you start talking about all of these systems and the high rises and 13 Rs and all this, and I'm just like going,
Yeah, but Everybody
It's all good,
contributes in
man.
different
It's
ways.
all good.
Everybody.
Exactly.
It's
It's
all
all
a matter
good.
of picking brains of everybody. That's why a place like this, you have so many people out
Yeah.
here you can discuss these things from.
Exactly.
We all don't have the answers for everything,
No.
but you know where to go for sources.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
the key.
Oh, sauces. Speaking of sauces, again, we'd like to thank Firehouse Subs. But we shouldn't leave this without thanking Mark Howe.
Mark Howe and,
who works
and
for
the other
Fire-
kid from Queens.
What do you mean the other kid? Come on,
Kid,
get over here. A little cameo appearance. Get in here. Come over here. We'd like to
That's all right.
thank you
So
as well.
we-
So, yeah.
What'd
Can
you say
tell?
his name was? Iggy Bogenschitz? You gotta be kidding me. Never met this guy,
Never met
Bogenschitz.
this
Are you kidding me?
Oh man.
No, this was,
thank
God
you guys
bless
for
you.
having
Yeah,
me, man.
thank you.
This was great.
That was like,
Thank you, brother.
This is. Thank you, man.
yeah,
Love you,
thank
man.
you, appreciate it.
Love you
The,
guys.
what you call it? When I came out of it the first time, they,